Hi there and welcome to SalesGodCRM. My name is Haley and today I'll be showing you a full walkthrough of our SalesGodCRM platform. Before we get started, I'd also like to congratulate you on getting your 10DLC approved. That's honestly the hardest part of this whole process, so we're excited to have you on board. We'll first start with your dashboard here. This will be your home screen anytime you log into the CRM, and it also serves as your analytics hub. At the top half of the screen, we have data about the number of incoming and outgoing calls over here on the left and texts over here on the right. The most important thing that I like to note here is actually going to be these segments. Each segment is equal to 160 characters, and text messages can contain multiple of those segments as you're creating longer messages. But in creating those longer messages, you're actually charged per segment. So for example, if you had a text with 200 characters in it, because it's over that 160, you're essentially paying the 0.012 cents or 1.2 pennies twice to send that one message to one person. So for that reason, we always recommend keeping your texts and segments a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you see 100 up here in your texts, you also want to see 100 in your segments, especially on those first messages that you're sending out. Now I'll show you in the system too, where we have counters for the characters, where you can actually see how many segments you're using, both in the text strips and in the messenger. Looking at these two circle graphs down below, these are both looking at message delivery. We have lifetime here in the middle and daily over here on the right. Currently, they're both showing at 100% because we haven't actually sent any messages out yet. But the great thing about our system is that we do actually have some users who are able to maintain that 100% deliverability. If for any reason, though, you started to see spam creeping in here, anything more than 5 to 10% on the lifetime of your system, but especially over here in the daily view, if you see this light up with spam after either releasing a new text strip or you just come in one day and see it like that, what you can do is you can pause your text strips, and I'll show you where we do that in the text strips menu. And you can reach out to us, whether that's via this support chat down here or via call or email. What we'll do is we'll actually help diagnose that spam issue. There's a couple of different things that could be the problem. Whether it's you using words that are known to have a high spam risk, a few that we know of are cash money loan. Sometimes the phone numbers, if we've been messaging a high volume of people from the same maybe 1 or 2 phone numbers. Sometimes those can become what we call burnt out and they need to be replaced as well. That's something that we can test whenever you reach out to us about your spam issue. And the last thing that's probably the most frustrating is going to be that the phone carriers update their filters. So when they do that, words or phrases that weren't necessarily spamming out before start to spam out now. Whatever the case might be, though, we're here to help. We don't like y'all to have to deal with the spam issues. We know it can be a pain, so that's why we're here if you need us. Over here on the left side of your dashboard, we have a few different line graphs. Outbound stats here is looking at messages, segments, and calls by day. Deliverability is looking at message failures by type. So if you sent any landlines, invalid numbers, or spam, you'd see those here. And then traction looks at the total number of messages delivered versus the number of people who replied. And replied, I like to mention, is anyone who replies. So whether that's positive, negative, they're opting out, those all count as replied. The next place we're going to go to is going to be your contacts page. This contacts page is where your leads will live once they've been imported. So you can see we have a few already in here, but if we wanted to import new leads, there's a couple different ways we could do that. So if you know that your leads are scrubbed, if they've already been scrubbed for landlines, which are those numbers that can't receive text messages, or for TCPA litigators, those people who are known to bring on lawsuits when people message them without their permission. If you know that those contacts are already a clean list that's been scrubbed, you can import those contacts directly through the contacts page here. We don't typically recommend this if those contacts aren't scrubbed, so we want to make sure they are. Now, if you wanted to scrub those leads prior to importing, at the bottom of your menu here, we have the scrubber, When you click on the scrubber, it'll give you two drop-downs. You'll have to scroll down just a little bit here, and you'll see landline removers, and you'll see TCPA scrubber. Now, the landline removers from that screen, you can actually scrub for both landlines and TCPA. So if you're looking to scrub for both, what you'll want to do is go to the landlines. If you were, however, just wanting to scrub for TCPA, you would go to TCPA only. Now, the charge for these, it's 0.002 cents for landline removers, and then 0.0015 cents for TCPA. So together, if you wanted to scrub for both, it would be 0.0035 cents per lead to scrub for both. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and scrub for both. So we're going to go to our landline removers here. And when I open up this screen, you'll see this button at the top right that says Scrub Landline Data. I'm going to click that button. And in this Choose File column here, we're going to go ahead and click that, and we're going to choose the file we want to import. Now, you want to make sure that your file is an Excel or CSV file, and you also want to make sure that that file has headers. So if, for instance, the column names, so first name, last name, whatever your column names are, we're actually going to map those here in a second. But what we're going to do for now is go ahead and select that file and hit open. And now you'll see once we've opened that file here, we have another little section that popped up in here. This is where we're actually going to define mapping for the phone number. So this is the column that we're going to select here in the mapping. We're going to select our phone column, whether that's called phone or cell phone or mobile phone, whatever your column name is, that's the one we'll want to select. So I'm going to select phone here. And you'll see also, if we wanted to just do landlines, this is all we would do. We would just put in the phone column and we'd hit start scrubbing. But if we also want to combine and do TCPA as well, we're going to hit this little toggle that says enable TCPA scrubbing. Once we toggle that, you'll see a few different options pop down below. TCPA is already selected. The only other one we're going to select here is DNC complainers. Once we have both of those selected, we mapped the phone column, we're going to hit start scrubbing here. Now, depending on how large your file is and how many columns or how many rows there actually are, sometimes this might take several minutes. For us, this one is just 10 contacts as an example, so it'll move pretty quickly. But it is scrubbing for both landlines and TCPA. You'll see here, these particular contacts, because they're fake contacts, they did not show in this. It shows as an invalid number because they're fake contacts. But if they were actual mobile numbers, it would show here as mobiles. Okay, now that our scrubber is done scrubbing, you can see of those 10 records that we scrubbed, 2 came back as legitimate mobile numbers, 2 came back as landlines, 1 came back as invalid. So the only 2 that we actually have that are valid mobile numbers, and this one in this example contacts, of course, we just put in a couple of random numbers to do this demo here. But with this clean data, this is what will actually get imported into our system. So now that we've scrubbed, what we're going to do is we're going to hit import clean data. And from here, we're going to map our columns. So these fields are the ones that we have available in the system. Over here on the right is where you'll map the specific columns. So first name to first name, last name to last name. We're going to do phone, email, and we don't have gender in our file. So we're going to go ahead and just skip over that one. We're going to go then to date of birth, type and company we also don't have, so we're going to skip those. But we are going to go address, city, state, and zip code. County we don't have, and then we don't have any notes in our file either, so we're just going to skip these last two. Select tag to attach here. If you wanted to, for instance, categorize your leads or label them so you know which lead vendor you used. Say, for instance, you were trying out several different lead vendors. You could select a tag upon importing these contacts. That way you know where they came from. We usually don't recommend this, but it is absolutely an option if you wanted to kind of categorize those leads and know which leads vendor those leads came from. The next thing we'll want to do is just link it to a text strip. So these text strips, these are the ones that we have in the system. Now, if you don't have a text strip set up yet, the one that we have in here is the initial intro drip. This is like a template. So if you wanted to put it in this one, and then on your next call, you can add in a new drip. Or you can adjust this one here. You can absolutely put them in the intro drip and then adjust it from there. It's not going to start sending out these contacts immediately. You can also see this drip is paused. Now, if you had another drip, say for instance, you were a real estate wholesaler, or you were selling Medicare, or you were selling, T65 Medicare, perhaps life insurance, health insurance, you can have specific drips for those, and you can import contacts specifically into those drips. Now, because this is just an example demo, I'm going to go ahead and just put ours into this intro text strip here. Once I do that, you'll see there's also an option to force link here. We don't have to worry about this. This is something we very seldom ever use. We don't even really recommend it. It's just here if needed. All it does is it moves your contacts into a new text strip, even if they're already in the system. This is a brand new import, so it's not something that applies to us. So we're going to go ahead and now hit import. And what it's going to do is it's going to take those two contacts here, and it's going to move them into our contacts page. So we can see here, those two new contacts are now here in our contacts page. If you wanted to import that list directly through here, you would choose your file. So in this case, I'm going to choose this file here. And you would do very similar to the same thing we just did. Map your columns, select tag to attach if you wanted to, and link to text strip. But again, this import contacts option is only if your leads are already scrubbed. We highly recommend making sure that those leads are a clean list. That way, you're not getting any landlines or any of those TCPA litigators when importing directly through the contacts page. One thing you can also do is you can add a contact manually. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for myself just so I can show you some functionality in the system. I'm just going to add a first name and then my phone number. The phone number, of course, being the most important part. And honestly, this first name here, it can also be a company name. So if you don't have the person's exact first name, you can put the company name. One thing also is you can actually just put the phone number there too. The only thing that really matters is going to be that the phone number is correct. But you'll see if you had these other fields, you could also add these in here too, and then hit add contact. Now that I've done that, you see me pop up here. Now, when you click on my name here, you'll kind of get like a miniature window of the messenger over here on your right-hand side. From here, you'll see any message history you've had with the contact. You can actually type a message to the contact as well and hit send right here whenever you are ready to send it. You can call the contact here using this call button. If you exit out of this, we also, under the action column, have a call button here where you can call contacts as well. In the note here, you could add a note to your contact as you're talking with them. So you could put temporary contact as a note or jot down anything specific to the conversation you've had. And when you save it and hover back over, you'll see that note there. Schedule a message is more so like one-off messages you can set to send. If, for instance, you wanted to contact someone who said, hey, contact me in 2 weeks, and maybe I'll be interested then, you could go ahead and preset that message now. You could block a contact if you don't want them contacting you anymore, or if you don't want to accidentally reach out to them again. You could edit the contact info, and you can actually delete the contacts as well. We highly recommend blocking the contact instead of deleting. That way they don't accidentally come back in on a new list. Now, the next page we'll take a look at here is going to be your phone number screen. This phone number screen here is where your phone numbers will be. These are the ones that are actually sending the messages out to your contacts. So you'll see we have one in here that we added already, and we got it 10DLC linked. It takes around 6 to 8 hours to actually link the 10DLC. So we like to go ahead and get one started for you, but this is where you can actually add additional numbers too. So we typically recommend having 3 to 5 phone numbers to start. And what the system will do is it'll rotate between all of those numbers available. That'll help us reduce the risk of spam by reaching out from different phone numbers. Now, if you wanted to go ahead and add additional phone numbers, which like I said, we typically recommend 3 to 5, you can hit by number up here. And in this starts with column, you're going to add your area code. So for instance, if I wanted to do 832 as my area code, if you need help with finding area codes too, you can also search the city or state or the specific information in Google and say area codes after it, and it'll give you the most common area codes in that area. You can then type that area code in here and search. Now you can also increase the max result here. So if you wanted to show more phone numbers available, you can do that. I just usually go with 10 and I hit search. You'll see it then pops up some of the numbers that are available. Now, there's no rhyme or reason to selecting the numbers here. You'll just select the one that has the most options. Of course, SMS and voice, if you want to actually do calls through the system, those are going to be the most important. But you'll just click the number that has those options and then hit order selected numbers here. If you were wanting to do a couple numbers, you can also do a couple in the same area code. If you sell in different states, you could do, one in each state. You could do a couple, from each state. That's also something that you can do. In this case, I'm just going to do one here and hit order selected numbers. Now, once we do that, what we'll do is we want to link it to our 10DLC campaign. So we're going to go ahead and hit link to 10DLC. In your campaign options, you're just going to have one option that says client outreach. So I'm just going to hit client reach out, but in yours, client outreach, but in yours, it's only going to say client outreach. You will not have these other options. It'll just say client outreach. When you hit client outreach, you'll hit link campaign with phone number, and now you'll see it showing as 10DLC pending. Like I said, it typically takes around 6 to 8 hours. So now once that's done, you'll see it as 10DLC linked as well. The last thing we want to do on our phone number screen here is we want to go ahead and attach these phone numbers to our text strips. So I'd use this button here to select all of the numbers. Even if you've already attached one before, it's okay to select all again. You're going to hit this green attach to text strip, toggle attach to all here, and hit this green attach. And now all of your phone numbers here are attached to your text strips. So the phone numbers are going to rotate when actually reaching out to those contacts. Once a contact has been reached out with at a specific number, though, all other communication will come from that specific number. So if a contact was reached out with this 561 number, they're going to continue to get messages from that 561. If you also wanted to enable call forwarding, that is a feature we have available as well. You can actually select all again, hit enable call forwarding, and you can type in your phone number here and then hit enable call forwarding. If you ever needed to stop call forwarding, you would select the numbers again and hit disable call forwarding. The next page we'll go to here is the call logs. So if anyone calls you or you call them, you can actually see that call here in the call logs. Now, if you recorded the call, which is something that you can do too when calling out, you'll hear that recording here too. There will be an option in the action button, the action column, to see that recording. Next, we'll go to your text strips. This is the page where you'll see all of your text strips. From here, you'll see that we typically include a couple of templates just based on your industry. So if there's like a health insurance or a life insurance option in there, we went ahead and included something based on the industry you gave us when we did the 10DLC registration. Now, if you don't have any additional drips looking at your specific area, you can contact us and we have templates typically that we can add. Or what you can do is you can put them in the initial text strip, like I did for those first contacts that we talked about. Because what will happen is in the next call with our CEO, Robert, or our CIO, Travis, when you actually do the creation of your text strips, they can edit this with you. So if it's not saying exactly like you'd like it to say now and you want to adjust it, in that call is where they'll do that. Now you'll see here, we also added these 5, what we call follow-up drips. So depending on how your contact responded to you, you can use these follow-up drips here to contact them again or continue following up with them. If they were interested, but say missed your appointment that you had scheduled with them or said they were, they were good for a call, you tried calling them, they didn't answer, then you want to then put them into a drip to start, trying to figure out a good time to get on a call with them again. These are a couple of different options you can use when following up with those contacts who have already responded. Now, in this column on the right is where you'll actually activate your drips. So for instance, I'm going to use this one since there's currently no contacts pending in it. When I hit activate here and I hit yes, I confirm, this drip is now active. So if it had contacts in it, it would start sending those contacts out. If I needed to pause the drip, you could then click pause on the action column as well. So now I can hit pause and you see once I pause, it turns that button back to an activate button. So, and you can see this is currently paused here. Now, when I actually click into this text strip, this is where you'll edit the message. So here in this component right here, that's what we call each of these little individual gray boxes with the actual message. We call them components. When you click on this edit pencil, it's going to open up the window where you can edit your message here. So you'll see we have first name in here. If you didn't want that, you can absolutely remove it. But that first name is directly from a placeholder and it's pulling from your contacts page. Now, if you didn't have the correct first name or say it was a company name you were using so you didn't want to use a first name, you could absolutely just come up here and remove that first name. Instead, what you could do is you could use this option down here for spin text. This spin text here, I'm going to come back up and add this in. This spin text here is what we use to help randomize your messages. So for instance, one example could be, hey, this is, and then of course you could put in your name. May I send you an estimate? So that's one example. What you do when you're using spin text is the system pulls one section out of each of these brackets. So it'll do that in order to vary your message a little bit. So you'll see we have 36 variations in just the spin text that we have here right now. That'll help us reduce the risk of spam and making sure we're not sending the same exact message to a high volume of people. It'll say a very similar message, but it'll switch up some of the wording each time it sends. Now, you can always watch the spam rate here. If it jumps above 20%, that's sometimes when we would say, hey, go ahead and reach out. At the green button here, you can hit save to save any changes you made to this section. Scrolling down a little bit, this is where you'll see those two counters. So we have one that's plain, it doesn't have an opt-out statement, and then you'll notice we have one with an opt-out statement. By law, to be TCPA compliant, we need to include that opt-out statement on only the very first message. So that initial message we send to someone needs to have that opt-out statement. Because the system knows the law, it includes that opt-out statement for you already. So there's no need to add any sort of opt-out in this top box up here. Now, while you don't have to add that opt-out statement, it does still count towards your character count. So anytime you're making the very first message here, you'll want to use this bottom counter, which will show you what it looks like with that opt-out statement attached. Now, for any follow-up messages, you can use the counter right above it. That gives you a little bit more room to play with since it doesn't have to take into account that opt-out anymore. When we X out of here, the next thing I'll show is your settings. So when you go into your settings here, this is where if you wanted to, you could adjust the name of your drip. You can adjust the time window. So the days those messages go out, the active window. So if you wanted to drag here, say you wanted to start at 10 a.m. instead of 8 a.m., you could drag this little circle here to 10 a.m. instead. If you wanted to end at, say, 5 p.m., you could drag to 5 p.m. here. Now, one thing to note is that the time window actually corresponds to the time zone of the contact's phone number's area code. So whatever area code that contact's phone number is in, it's going to correspond to their time zone and send out based on where they're located. Now, if you wanted to as well, we also have an option to add in a pause window during the day. So say you wanted to message people in the morning and then a little bit in the evening, you could add in a pause window here. And this is now saying, I'm going to send messages out from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then I'm going to pause from 10 a.m. to 5. And then I'm going to start sending messages out again from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. This is a way that you can help kind of pause during the day, especially if you're stepping away from the system, or maybe you just want to reach out to people when they'd be a little more likely to respond, which would be in the morning and in the evening. You can absolutely do that. Below that, you'll notice one thing too we have is a waitlist setting. So this is where you'll actually tell the system how many leads you want processed every minute. Now, we recommend keeping it every 1 minute, but you can absolutely adjust the number of leads. So if it was moving too slow, for instance, and you wanted to bump it up, you could absolutely adjust this to make it a little higher. Now, you can do this a couple of different ways. You could set it up based on budget. If you're wanting to spend a certain amount per day or per week, you could set it up based on the number of leads you actually want to contact. So again, by day or by week, however you want to contact those. You want to take into account, though, the actual days or the time window that your messages are going out. This currently right here is 4 hours. But if you remove the pause window, now you're looking at 11 hours. So you kind of want to take into account how many hours a day are you sending. That'll help you determine this process number here. But again, you can also, if you don't want to be super specific with it, if you come in and you find, hey, messages are going out a little slower than I'd like, you can bump it up. If you were at 20, you could bump it up to 25 or 30. You could give it a try at those numbers. If you were at 40, for instance, and you're like, hey, that's way too fast for me, take it down to 30. Take it down to 35. You can adjust that however you'd like. And anytime you do make any adjustments, just make sure to hit the green save here. One thing too I'll mention is the time window with the actual days. I don't think I mentioned this part, but with the days here, this is where you'll actually set the days that you want those messages to go out. Blue is selected, meaning messages will go out on those days, and white is not selected. So Saturday and Sunday are now no longer going to send out messages, just Monday through Friday. Okay. The next screen we'll take a look at is your messenger. So once you have your text strip set up, you have your settings exactly the way you want it, the messenger is where you're actually going to spend the majority of your time. This is where you'll respond back to those people who've responded back to you. Unread is going to be anyone you haven't read their message yet. Recent is going to be any back and forth communication you've had with someone. All here is going to be all of your contacts. So even if we have never sent them a message before, they're going to show here too, and it just says no text. This little flame here, if you had a contact who was really interested in what you were selling to them, or what we would call a hot lead, you can actually mark a contact as hot using this flame button here. And what that'll do is it'll put them in this folder here. So if you wanted to, separate someone out even further from the unread and recent folders, you wanted to prioritize them a little bit more because they were, a really hot lead or someone who was really interested, you could do that to kind of help prioritize them. Now with your archive folder here, there's a couple different things that happen. You can manually archive someone by clicking the checkbox and hitting archive. Anyone who opts out, so they text that 0 to opt out, they're going to go to your archived automatically. One other person that'll go to archived is anyone who puts in stop words. So they respond with keywords, which we call stop words. You'll see that stop words menu right here. When you click on that, it'll show you the ones we have programmed in here already. Now, this isn't necessarily case specific, so whether uppercase or lowercase, but it is character specific. So if someone said cancel, but they said it with an exclamation point after it, you would want to add that in. That way it'll catch the person who used that exclamation point. Anytime you're in your messenger, if you see other words that people are using and you want to add them into your stop words here, you can do what I just did by typing out the word and hitting save. What we also have in the system, along with our stop words here, is we do have a profanity filter. So for anyone who gets a little creative with their messaging back to you, they're going to automatically go to archived as well. The only people that I warn about are those who casually cuss. If they casually cuss, they're going to go to archived because the system doesn't know if it was casual or malicious. It doesn't know. It just knows that they used the word. So what you would do in that case is you could actually reactivate that contact. So if, for instance, Haley here went to the archive folder because she used a choice word, what you could do is you could actually find her contact. You could search her contact in either archived or in all. And what you could do is you could reactivate that contact. You could click this little box here, and instead of saying block, it'll say activate. So you could do that to bring that contact back, and then you can start messaging with her again. Now, when you actually click on a contact, you'll notice their message history pop up here. You'll also notice you can start typing messages here. When you do that, you'll notice the other character count down here at the bottom. So if you wanted to still stay within that one segment, you could absolutely do that. But of course, in the messenger, you might not care about a couple extra pennies if someone is super interested. It's just here to reference if you need it. You can hit send with this blue send here. If you find yourself sending the same message over and over again, you can actually add in message templates as well. Now, these message templates here, you can access the message templates menu by clicking manage here, or you can find message templates over on the left-hand side in your menu. And this is where you can add those templates. So if I click Add Template, the name of the template is actually going to be the name that's just in that little pop-up menu in your Messenger. This message, though, is what's going to actually pop up when you send that message. So for instance, I'm going to go ahead and just put test here, and we're going to hit Add Message Template. When I go back to my Messenger and I go to that contact, give me one. When I go to the Messenger and click on that message template, hovering over that message template box here, I can see the name of the template and I can see a little preview of the message. So when I click on that though, it's going to put that message in this box for me here. And if, for instance, you had a quote, maybe if you were quoting someone for a specific type of insurance, you can actually adjust the quote. So for instance, you had X's in the quote, you could adjust that and then hit send once you're ready to send it. Over here on the right-hand side, this contacts pane here, you can actually edit all of the contact info by clicking that edit button. And in this, by clicking contact up here, you can actually minimize that window as well if you wanted to. One thing you can do too is you can call the contact using either of these two call buttons right here. One other thing that we have in the top right-hand corner is our dialer. So from the dialer, one setting that we typically recommend is this auto message on missed call. When you toggle this message here, what it'll do is when someone tries to call you and you miss the call for any reason, you can actually have this message automatically sent once you miss the call. Here you can actually adjust that message too. So if you wanted to adjust the message, adjust the wording to whatever you'd like, you can do that in this box and it'll send out on that missed call. Now, another thing that we have in the system here are tags. Now, this tag button here, when you click that, this add or select tags will pop up. When you click on the add or select tags, you'll see this drop-down window up here. You'll notice we have two different types of tags. We have these plain tags here that are more so used to organize your contacts. And then we have this tag here, which is with the little robot head next to them, that we call smart tags. Those smart tags actually move your contact into a new text strip. So for instance, if you tried to give Haley a call after she said she was interested in whatever you were selling, if she didn't answer, what you could do is you could assign this schedule call smart tag to her. And since it's that smart tag, if we refresh here and come back to her contact, you'll see that there's a new message here that's going to be upcoming. It's waiting to send, but that she got moved into that new text strip. So that schedule a call, that's one of our follow-up text strips. She got moved into that text strip. And now this is the message that's waiting to send to her. When I go back to my text strips page and I look at schedule a call here, you can toggle the steps to kind of see where people are at within that text strip. This one specifically has 8 messages. These are your templates. We just put them in here to give you a starting point. So if you ever wanted to do less messages, you wanted to send maybe 4 at the max, you can always remove components here too. Now, if you ever added additional components, the main thing you want to worry about is making sure that there's a delay between the messages. If there was not a delay, what would happen is your contact would receive that first message and then immediately they receive the next one. So anytime you add additional components using this add component button right here, you want to make sure you adjust the delay between those. Now, in this specific text strip, if it were active, what would happen after that smart tag is added is the system would wait 1 hour and then it would send that first message to Haley. Now, if she still didn't respond, what would happen is it would wait a day and then it would send the next message. And it would continue to do that until one of three things happens. Either Haley responds, either she reaches the end here and there's no more messages that can send, or if you remove the smart tag or put a new smart tag on. Those are the ways that your contact can exit this drip once they've been put into this drip. Now, if you go to your tags menu over here on the side, this is where you'll see all of those tags. You can add new tags, you can adjust any existing ones. Any of them with the workflow are going to be those smart tags with the little robot head. So you can always adjust here with your tags. Now, in the autoresponder, this is also an option for you. If we come to the autoresponder and hit edit here, you'll see that if any of your contacts respond with these words or phrases verbatim, so go ahead, info, okay, sounds good, yeah, sure, yes. If they respond with any of those words, what'll happen is the system will wait 1 minute and then it'll send the message that you have here. One other thing that it'll do, if you have it selected, is it'll also attach a tag to that contact. So in the event that they didn't respond to this message, it'll then start following up with that tag. Interested auto is one of those smart tags. So it'll continue to follow up with them if that interested auto drip is active. Now you can see this is currently showing as inactive because it's disabled. To enable it, you would just hit the status here and hit edit auto response. Now you can see that it's active. The only time I see this disabled is if, for instance, you're in your messenger and you're responding to messages really quickly. Oftentimes what will happen is a double message will occur. That's because not only did you respond, but the autoresponder, because it went off of the contact's response, it responded too. It didn't realize, the system doesn't realize that you sent a message before it could. So that's one thing that I see if you wanted to disable it because you're going to be active in your messenger and you're going to be faster than the autoresponder, you can disable. Otherwise, you can let the autoresponder be the first one to respond if they responded with one of these words or phrases. Now, a new feature that we just added is actually our calendar here. So when you go to the calendar, you can connect your Google Calendar. Currently, this says disconnect, but that's because our calendar is already connected in this demo account. On yours, it would say Connect Google Calendar. You click that button and go through the screen to get everything connected. Once you do that, you'll notice in your messenger, when you click on a contact, as you're discussing with them, and maybe you decide on a day that you want to meet, you can actually show the calendar in this on this right-hand side, and you can click over to the day. So Wednesday, for instance, you could click over to that day and click whatever time block you wanted to use. And with that, you can actually set up a meeting with that person. So for instance, here, if I wanted to add a time on Thursday at 6 a.m. to meet with someone, maybe a little early, but if that was the time that you chose, you could actually click that time block like I just did, and it'll pop up this window here where you can add an event or task. Now, if you have the contact's email, it'll automatically populate that email here in the attendees. So they'll also, if your calendar is connected, they'll also get a calendar invite. Now, what it does do is it sends them a text message 30 minutes prior to their appointment. So this kind of gives them a reminder here. You can also click Remind Me, and what that'll do is it will remind you of that calendar event. Up here with the title, you can add, whatever you want that title to be, whether it's call with so-and-so, or, you can adjust that however you'd like. Same with the description. The time here, this is the time that's set up for that event. And then the time zone, of course, this is going to auto select pretty soon in the future here, but you can also select it based on where you're located or where that contact is located to make it easier for you. Okay. All right, and the last thing I'll show here is going to be the wallet. So our system runs on funds. You'll see you have a green add funds button here. This is where you can add one-time funds. If your system runs out of funds for any reason, messages will stop. So you need funds to send messages, to make calls through the system, to scrub leads, to purchase phone numbers. All of that goes based off of your wallet funds available. Now, one thing that we have in the wallet settings is the ability to set up a threshold amount as well. So if you wanted to set up a threshold, for instance, say you wanted to set it up for $10, anytime your account gets below that $10 mark, it's going to auto reload whatever amount you put here. So if you said, hey, when it drops to $10, I want to auto reload 50, you would choose whatever card you have already in the system, or you would add a new card, and then you would hit save. And now your system would auto reload to make sure you don't run out of funds. Now, if you don't want that to happen and you want to continue to manually add funds, you can just leave this how it is at 0 and no funds will be automatically added. This is just an option if you kind of wanted to set it and forget it. Alrighty, well, that wraps up everything that we had for our walkthrough here. If you have any questions at any time, definitely reach out to us. You can use the support chat here and hit the plus to start a new chat with us. This goes to our support team. You can also give us a call at 561-448-1002. That's our business line, so anyone on the team can also help there. Or you can email us at support@SalesGodCRM, and we'll be happy to help you there too. Either way, we're so excited to have you on board, and we can't wait to start working with you. Thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful day.